June 12, 2025. Nairobi's heart beats with fury.
We want justice! We want justice! We want justice!
The streets of the central business districts are alive, not with the usual hum of commerce, but with the roar of our people demanding justice. A young teacher and blogger, Ojwang, lies dead. His life snuffed out in a police cell under suspicious circumstances. The spark: a social media post accusing Deputy Inspector General Lagat of corruption. Today, as the Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi unveiled Kenya's largest ever national budget, the city erupted in chaos.
IG and the DIG not only resigning but will also be arrested.
This is a story of grief, defiance, and a nation at crossroads. Ojwang was a 31-year-old teacher and digital activist from Homa Bay. Known for his fearless post on X, he called out corruption and injustice. On June 7, 2025, while eating lunch with his family, police stormed his home. The charge: a complaint from Deputy Inspector General Police Lagat, who claimed Ojwang's post, quote-unquote, tarnished his name. Albert was driven kilometers to Nairobi's Central Police Station. His family waited for his court appearance, but it never came. On June 8, Albert was found dead in his cell. The police claimed he took his own life, banging his head against the wall. But a post-mortem told a different story: severe head trauma, neck compression, and bruises consistent with a violent assault. Kenyans weren't buying the official narrative. Hashtags like "Justice for Ojwang" and "Lagat must go" began trending. The streets were ready to explode. By dawn on June 12th, Nairobi CBD was a battleground. Hundreds of youths, joined by civil society activists, poured into the streets. They marched from City Hall to Moi Avenue, past the National Archives, and towards Parliament. Their demands were clear: justice for Albert Ojwang and the resignation of Lagat. They stated, as I quote, "Lagat must go." Their voices echoing through the concrete jungle. Police responded with tear gas and batons, pushing protesters back from Harambee Avenue, where they aimed to disrupt the budget reading near Aga Khan Walk. Tensions boiled over as two vehicles were set ablaze and businesses shuttered in fear. The unrest wasn't just about Albert. It was a cry against a system accused of shielding police brutality and silencing dissent. As the protest grew, the Independent Policing Oversight Authority promised a probe, and senior officers at the Central Police Station were suspended. But for the demonstrators, it wasn't enough. They wanted Lagat gone and accountability for police force they saw as untouchable. Inside Parliament, Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi faced a different kind of pressure. Tasked with presenting Kenya's 2025-2026 budget, a record of 4.23 trillion Kenyan shilling, he aimed to balance a crippling national budget, soaring living costs, and public expectations. Mbadi, a former ODM politician now in President Ruto's government, had spent weeks consulting with Gen Z and grassroots communities to avoid the backlash of the 2024 finance bill protests. He promised jobs, better healthcare, and education funding, but outside, the chance of no justice, no budget drowned out his optimism. For many protesters, Mbadi's budget was irrelevant without justice for Albert. As Mbadi spoke, the streets told a different story. The protests weren't just about Albert Ojwang. They were about a generation fed up with corruption, police violence, and broken promises.
On the domestic front, the economy has remained resilient, as I stated earlier, recording an average growth rate of 5.2% for the years 2023 and 2024. This performance is higher than the global average of 3.3% and also higher than the sub-Saharan African region average of 3.8 over the same. This strong growth reflects the impact of sound and deliberate policies as well as the resilience of our well-diversified economy. These factors have enabled us to withstand significant domestic and external shocks while maintaining a steady path of progress. And by the way, Mr. Speaker, you know Kenya is not a small economy. We are number 6 in Africa. And we have jumped over Ethiopia. So you can't have a 3-pager statement for an economy as big as Kenya.
Gone without apology.
At the National Assembly, the National Police Service was under intense scrutiny. Inspector General Douglas Kanja and DCI boss Mohammed Amin faced questions before the National Assembly's Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security. Kanja defended the police actions, promising cooperation with the Independent Policing Oversight Authority's investigation into Ojwang's death.
In line with our commitment to accountability and transparency, the service pledges full cooperation and support to the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that is IPOA, as they undertake a thorough and independent investigation into the matter. In view of the above, the service wishes to provide the following chronology of events leading to the arrest of Mr. Albert Ojwang, who is now deceased. Responded confirming that the handle Twitter Pixel Generali was active and had 13.4 thousand 400 followers. On 5th June 2025, the EACC responded in writing confirming that Mr. Lagat was not under any investigations by the Commission. On the same day, the investigating team requested for additional information from CAK.
But for many, these assurances ring hollow as calls for Lagat resignation grew louder. As night fell on June 12, 2025, Nairobi CBD grew quiet, but the fight was far from over. Youth-led movements vowed to keep protesting, demanding systematic police reforms and justice for Albert Ojwang. Eliud Lagat remained in office, but pressure mounted for him to step aside. The budget was unveiled, but his promises felt hollow to a nation grieving. Albert's death became a symbol of resistance, a reminder that silence is not an option. Kenya stands at a crossroads. Will it choose accountability and change? Or will the cycle of violence continue? The streets have spoken. The world is watching. For Albert, for justice, the struggles goes on. For Maisha TV, I'm William Juma.